chrispalmer.org. In this video, what I'd love to go ahead and share with you is how you can create SEO friendly URLs or URL parameters. You can also call it your structure. You can even call it your permalinks. Either way, what I'll be covering today is number one, best practices for URLs, for SEO, of course. Number two, different URL structures that are good for SEO. Number three, URL structures. Number four, examples of URLs that are not good. Now, before I get into it, I want to point out chrispalmer.org. If you haven't already, please take the time. And of course, for learning, training, group coaching, SEO Mastermind. Enough about me. How can I help you with your URLs, your permalink structures? Let me first go over to Google itself. I want to point out a couple of things. This is Google's URL structure best practices by Google. It's Google, right? Oftentimes when I'm talking to business owners about their URLs, and I'll always recommend you want to have your URLs how people search. They'll oftentimes say that it needs to be short and concise. They need to be short, and I completely agree. And you're right. However, Google ranks pages, not sites. So when we're looking at a structure, let's just take this one right here because this is a recommended structure. And you see it's HTTPS, right? This is Wikipedia/wiki and aviation, right? When we're looking at the page that we want to rank, remember, they rank pages, not sites. That's what they mean by short. See right here where it says wiki and see how it's in between this, it's inside the folder. That if I was only looking at that page, that would be the page wiki. That's short. Aviation/aviation, that's the page that we're trying to rank. That's the page that Google's looking at. That's what it has to be short. If you put a keyword in there that said, let's just say personal injury Los Angeles, this would still be considered short. And if we were to put right here where it says wiki, if this said personal injury / personal injury lawyer Los Angeles, this still would be short. Okay. Now, what I want to cover here is I want to point out that Google ranks pages, not sites. And when they want you to have a short URL, just like the example here, they're looking at the page. This page has to be short. If you scroll down, they will start to show you unrecommended parameters where it is super long, not recommended. Okay. And there's numerous examples inside the description below. You can check this out for yourself. All right. So super long, as in that folder has a bunch of parameters in it, a bunch of different text or dashes or checks or whatever. It gives you plain examples on what you should be doing. All right. I want to point out that resource first and foremost. The next thing that I want to talk about is best practices for SEO. All right. Now, I oftentimes will see this, and I have to say, so oftentimes what we'll say is we'll see this right here. All right. This will be website.com/services/ personal injury lawyer. Okay. This here is going to go underneath the ones that are considered not good. This here is not good. I'm building relevance back to services. Okay. Best practices when doing SEO is we want to make sure that the URL reads how people are searching. We also want to keep it short and concise. So, and we don't want to go past 3 levels. So what I'm getting at here is the best practices for URLs are going to be website.com / personal injury lawyer. This is perfectly fine. Okay, this is great. This is a best practice. All right, now we'll just continue with this right here. Control C. Okay. Maybe I should have set this up beforehand, but either way. So we have personal injury lawyer. And then if we wanted to have another page that was going to be Los Angeles, this would be perfectly fine. Now, at no time, though, and I see this a lot, at no time should we just have a page that's only there simply just as a category page and there's nothing on it. Like, you should never have a page that's called services that's in the slug or the URL in the parameter. And when you take away your main term and you go to that page, there's nothing there. And I see this all of the time. And I really want to point that out to you. Also, keeping them short, under 50 characters, I have to go back to that example of they're ranking the page. All right, they're looking at the page. And we know this because not only do they state it within multiple pages on their blog and how Google search works, like Google has a lineup of everything you can imagine. They've answered every question. But on top of that, I want you to think about when you're submitting your sitemaps or your exclusion lists, how does Google want you to submit them? Well, they'll tell you to put the slashes of the folder that you are trying to remove, right? So not only when I want to remove a specific page do I just give the folder, but this is what I'm getting at here, right? It's all about this page. So we want to keep that short and concise. But if you read within the guidelines here, I'll give you a look here. Google outlines perfectly right here. Simple descriptive words in the URL. Localized words in the URL. They're giving an example that's ultra short, but as long as that little piece is descriptive and you're not packing in a bunch of extra words, it's perfectly within the guidelines. Another element that I hear quite a lot is this. Here, I'll point this out to you. All right. If you were to have this right here, and I get asked this question all the time related to, would this be considered over optimized? If I had personal injury lawyer, personal injury lawyer, Los Angeles, like this, would this be over optimized? You'd probably want to spell it right, though. This would not be over optimized because Google is looking at the page. It's ranking the page, not the site. Okay? Now, a much more optimal and probably within this space is that we would want to have it right here like this. They want you to be descriptive. Now, depending on the search that you're trying to rank in, depending on your competition, depending on what Google's rewarding, would determine, do I want to have a structured page like this? Do I want a hard silo? Do I have a lot of locations? Do I need a top-level category page? Whether you put your site like this or you have it like this. But that's up to the webmaster. That's up to you to decide. All right? It's not a cookie-cutter approach. We look and see what Google's rewarding. We also determine within ourselves what's best for us and our website and our management, and then we make our decision. But either way, we want to have the URL read how people are searching. We want to be descriptive, and we want to utilize location information inside of our URLs. And then if there's any qualms or any dispute, you can always take a look at Google's recommendations right on Google's website, URL structure best for Google SEO. It's right here. It's right in Search Central. And they're being very descriptive and telling us exactly, hey, here you go. Now they're giving you these short and concise recommendations. Apply this to your own sites. You see, that's really the big one that I want to point out. The other piece I want to talk about here, and I made this separately, this right here, we never want to build relevance back to keywords that don't have anything to do with what we are doing, right? For instance, if I do personal injury, I do truck, I do car, and I do, medical malpractice or whatever your industry is, I want to have my top level pages describing that particular subject or that particular service. And then I want to have my locations and I want to have my information. Let's go back to different URL structures that are good for SEO. Now, there, like I mentioned just moments ago, there's more than one way to do something, right? And I've seen lots of things perform very well depending on the SERPs. So let's do some other structures. All right. Here's some other ones that have done very well. All right. So I've seen them done just like this, where it's going to be CA, right? And then you're going to have like this. I've seen this do exceptionally well. We have California, like we're a personal injury law firm. We only do personal injury. And then we have California as this top level. Then we have personal injury, and our city pages are after that. I've also seen this and done this, and it's worked exceptionally well, where we're going to have personal injury lawyers, right? And then every single page that we want to have, loss, ANGELES, will come right after that. So if I'm on this personal injury page, and I'm in California, I'm a California personal injury lawyer. On that personal injury lawyer page, I list the cities that I do personal injury in. And when I click on it, it takes you to a page that's going to be flat just like this. Now, this isn't a website foundation or interlinking video. The only thing I'm outlining here and the points that I'm trying to make are, we want the URL to read how people are searching. Number two, you never want to have just plain keywords in here that aren't descriptive to the actual service or the location. Number three, having the keyword more than once is not keyword cannibalization. It is not over optimization. And if anything, it's only helping you. You're not cannibalizing yourself, and it is not over optimization by putting keywords into the URL. The only thing that it is recommended by Google. I hope this clarifies this. All right. I hope it does. Now, if there's anything that I can clear up, what I want to do here is, since this is a stream, and I'll probably chop this out and make it into another video. Let me see if I can make this more best practices for URLs. All right, here. Maybe we can put another example. Here's another one, right? Another great example. Personal injury, California. This is state level, and then we list our cities. Different URL structures, good for SEO. This is going to be the same exact thing. Really, number two is what I just did up here. Here, let me just scroll down here just a tad so we can take a look and see what else we have here. Perfection. Okay. Examples of URLs that are not good. This right here, services, and then you have all types of stuff. Another example of something that would not be good. Here, I'll give you more. Here, this is not a good idea. Do not do this. Right? Like this would be a bad idea. Here's another one where I've seen this before. We have services, or better yet here, personal injury lawyers near CA, and then you would have like personal injury lawyers in Los Angeles, right? Like, no, this is horrible. All right, number three, we actually could cut down. But I hope that I've been able to hammer this home. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to reiterate this so I can make this into a short video now that I've typed everything out, and I have some explainers to go with what we're talking about today. All right. I'm sorry if you're here live that I'm going through this again, but I apologize in advance. And let's take it from the top. So we have a nice, clean, fast, concise video, right? Right. All right. So let's go ahead and do that now. And if another reason why I like the streams is if you have any questions or anything that I need to clarify, please ask. I'll be more than happy to help. Actually, before I do this, let me just pop over here and see if there is anything. All right. Never miss. Okay, perfect. So it's just us here. We'll go ahead and go through this one last time. We'll keep it short, sweet, and concise. And then we'll end this stream and we'll have a great day. I'm going swimming with little Chris, but I wanted to make sure. I got asked literally this morning. There's a gentleman that I work with. His name's John. He's working on a mulch site. And on this mulch site, he had, whatever the website was, /services / mulch in whatever the city was. And I said, man, your structure is off. And if your structure is off, that tells me your internal linking is off. And if your internal linking is off, that tells me that your on page is off. And if your on page is off, that means that you're 60% behind. So the clear defined thing that I shared with him was let's take away the mulch page, the mulch plus city page, take that away. And when you go to the services page, what's there? I've seen guys and gals, right? I've seen webmasters put, like it'll be a 404 or it'll be a page that I'm building relevance to. That's a top level page. It's off the root and there's nothing there, or it'll just say service area or services. Right? And there's no internal links on it. There's nothing. It's just there as a placeholder. And I'm like, oh my gosh, don't do this. Right? Here. Let me add this as an example. Do not use service area. Areas we serve this. Locations as placeholder pages, right? Like, don't do this. Like, do not do this. This is a massive issue. All right. So here, let's bust through this. And I think this will be really helpful. I hope this helps you. I really, really do. I hope this clarifies some things. And I really wanted to just point out what Google had to say, because I think that would be clarification for the gentleman that had those questions this morning, right? And maybe you're watching, maybe you're not, but I hope this really clears it up for you, brother. I don't know why all those spaces were there, but I know. I'm running a little bit behind today, but that's okay. As long as I can help somebody, if I could just, one person sees this and it helps them, I did my job for today, right? So let's go ahead and take it from the top, and that'll be that. All right. So in any case, hello and good day. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. In this friendly SEO URL video, what I'd love to share with you is the do's and the don'ts of creating your parameters, your structure, your friendly URLs, right? That's what I'm talking about today. Now, I had a question from a gentleman. He was offering mulch and mulch supplies, and this is what has brought this video on today. Now, before I get into it, I have to point out Google. Google has a Google Search Central. And on Google Search Central, what it will do under URL crawling and indexing, they have a page, a section. It's developers.google.com /search/docs/ crawling -indexing /URL structure, right? Look at those parameters from Google. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 levels deep. Now, I know they're Google, but I'm just saying, have they been descriptive with their keywords? Are they hurting themselves? Are they cannibalizing themselves? No, they're not. And this is a question that I want to talk about first and foremost. Having your primary keyword inside of your URL is not cannibalization, and it is not over optimization. It is not. And the reason why this is because Google ranks pages, not sites. This means that when you're setting up your URL parameters, when you're setting up your URL, your SEO friendly URL structure, Google is looking at the page that you're trying to rank. For instance, see this crawling and indexing? This is a page. Now, if I were to take away this right here, URL structure up here, I would be on this page. Now, if for some reason they had crawling and indexing URL structure, this would not be over optimization. I would not get a penalty. I am not cannibalizing myself. This is just good optimization. This is optimal. Now, yes, you can make it shorter. Yes, you can. But are you going to get penalized, hurt, dinged, anything for doing this? No, you're just properly optimized. And on top of that, the URL structure, you cannot cannibalize yourself based upon by the URL, and I cannot over optimize myself just on the URL. Now, there are some best practices, and that's what I want to talk about right now. So if you come in here, you can see the two first ones, because I primarily help local business owners maybe just like you. And when you take a look at this, it's clear as day. There's a green check, simple descriptive words in the URL. Now, with us knowing that Google's looking at the page or the folder level, that page needs to be descriptive. So the pages before it in the URL structure have nothing to do with the page that you're on. Okay, so that means that I can't hurt myself by having a keyword in the page above me. Does this make sense? I hope that it does. On top of that, we want descriptive words in the URL. Here it is, straight from Google. And then secondly, localized words in the URL if applicable, right? So if there are locations that you're optimizing for, Google recommends that you add them to the URL structure or the parameters or the permalink, however you look at the URLs. Right? These are just different words to describe the same exact thing. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'll point this out in the description below. I give you a link right over to this page. You can look at it for yourself. All right. Now, they're being very short, very concise, but they also give examples of what is not good. And what is not recommended is different types of parameters within the URL, like underscores instead of dashes. Big, huge, long numbers or checks, like these huge parameter rich URLs, like that's extra long. That can potentially hurt you. But having your primary key term in there or having your location plus keyword in there is not a penalization. It will not cannibalize you. You will not get a penalty from it, without a doubt. With that being said, I want to also cover a few things, a few parameters or URLs that will be great for SEO and some parameters that will not be good for SEO. So what I've outlined here is best practices for URLs. Number 2, different URL structures that are good for SEO. And then I give you some examples that are bad for SEO. All right. So number 1, best practices. So like we just looked at on Google's website, we have some examples here. So this is a great example. So we have website.com/personal injury lawyer. Yes, I wrote in caps. This is not recommended, but my apologies in advance. The second one here is I have a very descriptive URL. It's a little bit longer, but it's perfectly within the guidelines. It's going to be very helpful. It's descriptive. I've added location information to it, which is recommended by Google. And when we take a look here, we have website.com/personal injury lawyer Los Angeles. It's the exact keyword. The URL reads how people are searching. Remember, we're optimizing the page that we're on. So if I'm optimizing for how people are searching, that means the URL title and H1 and the content is it's optimized around the keyword, or in this case, keyword plus location. Now, I know this is just a structure or a URL parameter video on how to do good SEO for your URL, but it all ties together. The URL, the structure, the interlinking, and the content is like pouring the concrete and building the frame for a house. It's top. It's number 1, right? Moving on to another example here. this is still a great way to set up your URLs. We have website.com/personal injury lawyer. Remember, this is the page, the top level page or a category page, however you want to look at it, a pillar page, whatever word or term or technobabble you want to use, that's what that is, /personal injury lawyer Los Angeles. Now, this is where people ask me questions all the time. Is this right here going to cannibalize you? In this example here, will personal injury law /personal injury lawyer Los Angeles, is that cannibalization? No. Google ranks pages, not sites. They're looking at the page. And to give you another example to clearly outline this, when you're trying to block a page or you're creating, yes, a block or outdated content, or you're submitting something with your sitemap, when you submit it, does Google want every single parameter, or do they just want you to showcase that particular page or whatever the top level category is? They are looking at the page, /page, right? Whether it's outdated or you're blocking it, or if you've never worked on sitemaps, you'd have no idea what I'm talking about, but I assure you this is the case. The next example here is I'm pointing out another good way to go about doing this right here, website.com/personal injury lawyer Los Angeles. I wrote the whole thing out in the URL, how people search. This is just good optimization. You are not going to get a penalty or get any. This is good optimization. You're the webmaster, and you don't have to take it from me. You can read Google's guidelines. I shared the link below. Here's the next one here, website.com/personal injury CA. Here's another way I've seen it be that it can be done in a great way. So when we take a look at this, personal injury CA, so we're talking about in California, /personal injury Los Angeles. So we have our top level page, which is California. So this is my pillar page. We're talking about everything personal injury in California on that page. I'm optimizing it for California personal injury lawyers. / a page that's supporting it, which is in this case is a location page. I have personal injury in LA. LA is a subcategory or subpage of California personal injury, right? This is not cannibalizing itself. This is not a penalty. This is good optimization. Number two, here's some other URLs that you potentially could go ahead and utilize. And I wrote them out here, as you can see. 1, 2, 3. Personal injury lawyer, Los Angeles, personal injury lawyers. Like, it doesn't matter the variation. The URL reads how you search. It doesn't matter if you stack the words in there. You're not cannibalizing yourself, and it is not a penalty. They want you to be descriptive. They want you to keep your folder short and concise. And this is a recommendation. This is not a penalty if you make it a little bit longer. Okay, it's just a recommendation that they give you. They want you to have short and concise URLs. But you have to think about this for a second. If we know that when they're saying URL, they're talking about the page that you're on. See this? Because if that was the case, this right here would be a penalty. Right? Because look how long this URL is. They're looking at the page. They don't want a super long page. And if you go back to the examples of do's and don'ts, it's clear. See, look at / look at this page. This is unreadable long ID. Now, take away the numbers. I understand they're talking about numbers. If you scroll down and look at more examples, they'll showcase this. But what I'm getting at is this would be a long URL. Like, look at this. It's / the URL. This is a problem, okay? Now, I'll also cover right here examples of URLs that are not good. Let's talk about a few more. So here we go. Here is a great example of a URL that is absolutely horrible, and I even go into this in more detail right below. So we take a look at this website.com /services / personal injury lawyer. Let's talk about that, why this is bad. If I'm on the services page, that means I'm talking about more than one service, right? That's not optimal. That's not optimized. That's not the best way of doing things, right? Because if I have multiple services targeting multiple things, multiple areas, how am I going to be optimized? On top of that, every page on your website is supposed to be valuable, right? And if it's going to be valuable, this would also mean that this page here, services, means that it's going to be optimized around something. I can't optimize around 10 different things, you see? So I can't list all 10 things plus the locations. Like, it's just not optimal. It's not the best way of doing it. This is a bad URL. It's a bad structure. It's a bad plan. The next piece is website.com/services/personal injury lawyers/injury lawyers in LA. Again, the top level page is services. We have personal injury lawyers and then injury lawyers in Los Angeles. There's not only is there services in here, but there's a stop word. Stop words like in, for, the. They don't belong in the URL. Next, we have this last piece here that I'll end on. All right. Do not use service area. We're talking about the word or the phrase service area, areas we service, or areas, location, or locations as placeholders in your parameters in your URL. What I mean by this is if I have website.com/locations/service location, if you go to your website right now and you click on your location page, right, and you're on your page, it's service plus location, like you're on the page, and you take away this, see how there's a slash here? If I take away this and I go to the locations page that's just called locations or areas we serve and there's nothing there, this is a massive problem. Or if it 404s, huge problem. I see this all the time. I do not want this to happen to you. Every single page has to have value. Every single page should be optimized. Every single page needs to read from URL H1 title how people are searching. Period. And this is proper. This is recommended by Google and, of course, myself. And my name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. If you have any questions about URLs, SEO friendly URLs, site structure, internal linking, SEO, local SEO, anything, never hesitate to go ahead and ask in the section below. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, it's so fun. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Thank you. All right. Let's see if you have any questions. If not, I'm going swimming with my bear. Is this structure good? I don't know which one, but if you're going to type something in here, by all means, go for it. Just make sure you don't put the HTTPS and all that because it blocks URLs. Because I'm an SEO, I'm a marketer. So when I do these lives, there's a lot of spammers out there. Like I spam with information. They just spam all kinds of stuff. So I just block it. All right. Lucky, no, it's the bad ones. Yes. Thank you. I've been following you lately and I'm learning so much from you. Greatly appreciate your work. Reina's recipes. I'm very, very happy to help. All right. And thank you. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for learning. And I hope you guys and gals have a great day. Many blessings. I'm going swimming with little Chris. I'll tell him you said hi. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.